Hello and welcome to the Thousand Tales podcast. I'm your host, Connor Logan, and this is another recording from the Ventura County Poetry Project. This is for May 11th, 2022, where we had Jan Wesley as our special reader for the evening. So enjoy, listen, and you'll hear after she's done with her special reading. We have an open mic section where you'll hear many of the local poets reading their own pieces, including yours truly. Take good care.
All right, well, why don't we get started? Welcome, everyone. It is May 2022, and look at this. We have people in person. Yay. It's wonderful to see your faces. It's wonderful to be seen. And just glad you're doing well, glad you're here. And I'm glad that we have our featured reader for today and for this month in person, which is great. I'll be introducing Jan in just a minute. So I did want to do a few announcements. And maybe, Ron, do you have anything else besides that? You can make that announcement.
It's Marcy Wingard.
So just want to make sure everybody knows that for the TO, the Jan's Library branch on March 25th, Marcy Wingard will be the featured reader in person.
Yes. To be determined.
To be determined. So, but again, we'll still be hybrid there as well. And welcome to attend however you feel comfortable. And we'll take some roll in here once we get to the open mic part. I think it worked really well last time. See, I look up at the screen thinking that I'm speaking directly to you, but I'm just speaking to the screen. But we're gonna try to make sure that we, when we get to the open mic, I'll ask people that want to do a poem or to put into the chat their name so that we can, it'll just be first come, first served, and we'll go that way for that. But I guess we go right into our featured reader, which I'm very excited about. So I'd love to introduce Jan Wesley. She's the author of Living in Free Fall and has 2 published chapbooks. Her second poetry book, Only So Much, from What Books, will be released in October of this year. Poems have appeared in the Skew, Blue Mountain Review, the Iowa Review, Rattle, Spillway, Beyond Words, and anthologies, among others, and she received a pushcart nomination. She worked in post-production in the film business for many years, and after receiving an MFA at Vermont College, she taught writing at the University of Redlands and the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. Currently, she facilitates writing workshops in Los Angeles. So, without further ado, please give a very warm welcome to Jan Wesley.
Logistics. Thank you all for coming. There are people in the audience. How cool. And I want to thank, I'm doing what Connor did, doing the screen thing. Thank you guys for being here. You're awesome. The book comes out, Only So Much comes out in October. So I thought I would read mostly from the book. And the book has a lot of prose poems, and if you're not familiar with that, they look like this. They're big squares, paragraph looking, usually justified on all 4 sides. So most of what I'm reading are those, and gives a little elbow room for a narrative poet, wordy narrative poet like myself to have a little room for narrative poetry. So I'm going to start with that lingering need for ritual. Back then, as we say these days of those days, the world was open, revolving, the body in masterful form when a stretch of tendons attached to solid bones would get me to another family holiday. Garden sprouts hidden single seeds and corners of the earth peeled back to reveal science like small animals studied in careful hands. Soon the century changed, and we lost sense of the risk of uncalculated danger, the way a child might mangle his fingers in a toy. We lose We lose sight of forests and the land is laden with theft and there's short breath behind the throat. No end to strip mine streets where someone's dinner lies tilted in the garbage. This holiday of thanks comes with excess food, frozen streams of cars loaded with ritual offerings, the leaves on trees turning red, yellow, and dropping when they're through. I don't get soothed by turkey or lulled by tryptophan, the armor of football and TV unable to protect us anymore from family silence and family squabble, and we collapse into drunkenness expecting to be forgiven again. I ramble off somewhere between dessert and sleep to a steamy motel by the beach, and a man lazes on the chilly sand. And like a habit, we slide a card to enter a room, the smell of him leading me to our brief reunion. I know this kind of escape is a bit cliche, but when my mother took her life, I couldn't find solace in family commiseration and reasoning. So I found men who expected nothing except flesh and lusty animal sounds, a frenzy of the body being hushed and calmed by whispers of a stranger. He and I lean in the doorway and the moon shapes itself into a half dome along the horizon, our hands resting on tapped out stomachs, our heads falling back to breathe in 100,000 stars a minute. This is called Inner Ear, and there's an epigraph. I saw the whole piece immediately before my eyes and only needed to write it down as though it were being dictated to me. Gustav Mahler, referring to his Symphony No. 8. My father made me listen to Mahler. I was 10, and he was eternally in love with classical composers, especially the ones who wrote as if every concerto or symphony would be their last, might even save the world. An uncle in the Navy, electronics wizard, married to my mother's sister and always silent about what he did, built my father a mono record player and speakers that today could blast hip hop and Led Zeppelin like the best equipment designed to whirl us through space. When mother was out of the house shopping, perhaps finding liquor or selling her cameras to buy it, surreptitiously and with grief in her heart, my father would put on jazz and Mahler and crank up the volume until the whole neighborhood resounded like a concert hall. I loved how different he was from other parents, Eisenhower voters and war boosters, even in the Vietnam years when 3,000 Pennsylvania boys died with ears ringing from howitzer fire and grenades. On occasion, my father would play Rachmaninoff for Herculean speed and complexity, remembrance of visceral passages of Concerto No. 2 when his own father took him to see Rachmaninoff play Rachmaninoff at Carnegie Hall. And sometimes I wish I'd been with my father before I was born for the music, for Ella, Art Tatum, Gillespie, and Monk. Tonight I sit in a seat so high above the music center stage, I'm afraid I could pitch over the railing, but I don't. Instead, both movements of Mahler's 8th Symphony overwhelm my body with 200 voices, concentric layers of strings, timpani, tubas, and horns, crescendos so grand I boil over with what magnitude can do, with what we can do when we are guided by another person's hand, when we listen and surrender, when we love this life enough. I suppose most of us probably have the love of their lives, and hopefully a lot of people still have them. So this is what we mean by the love of the life. I am allergic to coconut and cat hair. When we broke up, he sent me a tuft of orange cat fur and a coconut box label taped to a piece of cardboard jammed into an envelope. It was brilliant. It was art. The last time I saw him, years had gone by, and I walked up behind him where he perused a shelf of CDs, his spine lengthened by taut muscles inside a cotton blend sky blue shirt, and I still knew the sway of his torso, slight rise in the left shoulder. And I don't remember, but probably gave a good sigh to his ass. Corduroy pants tight around his legs that always had a savvy instinct to run. When he broke up with me, or me unable to give up my pending lifestyle that I didn't imagine I would regret, there was a sense that love would never be the same. The day we met, he leaned back in his chair on his two rear legs and looked at me walking up to him, not giving a shit whether I was stylish or distracted or young, or whether he was interested, available, or kind. We had been set up for what most people think of as a date, but for us, it was all about changing the system. His eyes studied the world and its roaming plans through window-thick glasses with one stem taped to the frame. We lived on a hill choked off by a 5-lane boulevard lined in ethnic restaurants and shops that stayed open late because people had nowhere else to go. We were poor, but not like people who didn't stand a chance. He and I could read contracts and choose not to sign raw deals that would take things out from under us. We could bullshit our way into jobs and always make a few bucks for gas and food, and our bodies were new shoots pushing up from the dirt. We were lion-hearted, laden with limberness of heart. We were just beginning.
All right.
And this is for him, wherever he is, the way wherever a lot of people are in the world now. History repeats itself. And this epigraph is, "The whole world is watching," which was a demonstrator's chant from the Democratic Convention in 1968, where it was a mass of rebellion. This is in parts. So, part 1. On the porch, Maggie's daughter, the size of a Great Dane in thrift store snowsuit, scrapes one leg past the other, opens the flaps of a television-sized carton, hands cold despite mittens attached by safety pins to each sleeve. The box is the size of her world, her mother inside pawing through mail and sales ads for offers she can't afford. Husband or dad, depending on who remembers him, is supposed to be alive in Iraq. Maggie and the girl finding solace in freezing weather with bone soup on a single burner stove and clothes Maggie makes from other clothes. 2. Fire burns up the chimney, its ashes causing the soldier's wife to wheeze from scorched kindling of front page news that repeats itself. The president a criminal and still no jail, no death by shame, not one rusty nail to seal his coffin. 3. People surge into the streets, the too young to fail, saving trees, bodies close as nerve endings, striking the pavement of the boulevard to stop the Nazis, stop the guns, stop the chemicals flown onto food, stop the murder of Black women's children killed by police. In history, mothers rage against wars and how it takes their sons. And then the next ones. 4. The young girl paused the inside of the box, tipped over onto a porch. The house reshapes itself under eaves burdened with snow as Maggie rubs her hands, pulls her shoulders around her chest to create warmth, uncrates the girl, swoops her inside, kicks the door to close against the cold. Dinner is flimsy, but there is wood. Small pile of children's books, black and white TV. The girl sitting on the floor between her mother's legs, her hands around Maggie's tapered calves like prisoners' hands around the bars. 5. On the news, protesters stand face to face with police, messages scrawled on torn sides of cardboard boxes, fingers and fists, fingers spreading peace signs, police staring down another mother of a dead son, and just like the parents who stand in the street waiting for the